Okay, we're live.
We
Hello.
started.
What are we? Hello, everyone that's watching today. My name is Vaishu from Desert Wolf Star. We have the wonderful, beautiful Pamela here. She's from White Feather Reiki. We're going to talk about our spiritual experiences and what we've been going through. You are more than welcome to put any questions in the comments, and I will look at those questions and we'll do our best to answer them. Or you're welcome to, get a cupcake or some water and tea and sit with us and just ask, just enjoy the experience. If you do find yourself liking this, please go ahead and just either like, comment, or share out. Otherwise, let us start. Would you like to introduce yourself, Pamela?
Hi, everybody. I'm Pamela. For those that don't know me, I'm a shamanic Reiki master, spiritual teacher, and just general guide on the spiritual journey for everybody, hopefully in some way, shape, or form. Yeah, and I've worked with Vaishu quite a few times, and I just love our energy together. We were just talking about this, and I've got to say it because it's come into my head. She brings out my inner child. So if you see a lot of inner child play today in this session, that's why.
Yes. I just generally kind of be like that. I just be walking around and I'd be like stepping on stuff. My friends are like, "What's going on, bro?"
I'm so with you.
Okay, awesome. So we're gonna share our experiences. We have some comments here. Hi, Melanie. Hi, Lisa.
Mel.
Hello, France. She
Hi.
says, "I have my coffee." Wonderful. That's what we need. We need some more people.
Lisa's got a cuppa.
Wait, Lisa, are you from where Pamela's from? She said cuppa instead of coffee. Hello.
You can tell.
Yes.
Tea.
Thank you, friends. Hello, Carolina. Hello, Cynthia. Welcome. Please, guys, just feel free to sit and drink your cuppa or your coffee or your water, whatever you'd like to have. While we're talking, feel free to either share or she says, Francis, I was going to write cuppa too, so I'd say I guess it's a Canadian thing as well.
Oh, that's cool.
So feel free to share your own stuff or ask questions while we're doing this. We'll do our best to answer them. All right, Pamela. So I'm going to obviously start off a little with the heavy question. So you know how she's like, of course, I love this. So you know how we all say that, oh, we had like this happen and that happened and all of this kickstarted our spiritual experiences, right? So like that buy one get two free experience, what was that for you? Like what was the I had this happened to me, and then I went from unconscious to people are speaking in my head.
Well, I've always had people speaking in my head. Ever since I was little, I've always had people speaking in my head, but I closed off.
Right.
I closed it off because, same with probably a lot of us, like when you realise it's not the norm and you realise that it's not socially acceptable, you close off. So I closed off for years and years and years, and it wasn't until my huge spiritual awakening moment was when the voices instantly started to come back. Obviously, they were my guides.
Thank you, Jen, for sharing.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much. And please ask questions.
Yes, please ask questions. Hi, Claire.
If you have a question pop up in your head and you're like, oh, I'd really want to ask that, ask it. Because even though I might squirm, I do love questions. So, and like you know me, I will just be honest as well. So feel free. I might regret saying that, but you know what? Feel free. So
hi, Julie.
What kickstarted mine, and it's not a surprise to the guys who follow me. Hi, Julie. Like some of the guys here have been in my group ever since I started it 6 years ago. So my marriage fell apart, which is what kickstarted my spiritual awakening. I have two small girls who are obviously smaller at the time because this was almost 7 years ago now, and I lost everything. So I lost the person that I married, even though he's still here. It was still a grieving process. So, and then I lost the house, I lost my job. I had to start again from scratch. And I didn't understand a thing what was going on. Didn't know what the hell was going on. All I knew is that I was different inside. Something changed, didn't know what it was. And I had to just start from scratch. That was the catalyst for my spiritual awakening. And when I look back now, my guides were screaming at me, telling me what it was. And I just was not in the right frame of mind, to the point where I tried to take my own life a few times. Looking back, obviously that wasn't meant to happen. I was meant to be here and talk about it like everybody and help people through it. I thought I was going crazy. Like
Hi,
literally,
Brandy.
I
Hi,
was going
Lisa.
crazy.
Hi,
Hi,
Laura.
everybody. Hi, Laura. Or Laura. I can never say the name. Sorry. So that was mine. Ask what you want about that, because it's so in depth that I would probably be waffling on and waffling on. So that's my catalyst.
So I know you said you probably go on and on about it, which is I'm sure true for anyone. So you said you had one thing after another happen, and then the divorce happened. So when you were going through that, how did you? Let's say, so this is a two-part question then. I guess it's double-pronged. So how did you process the grief of what was happening? Because I'm pretty sure it feels like you're riding a roller coaster, and sometimes maybe it doesn't feel like you have one of those strap-ons on, even though you do. It doesn't feel like that. So I know there's a grief associated with that, and that for me at least, there was that feeling of, holy shit, what the F is happening? I feel like I'm losing my mind. I feel like I'm going crazy. I've also had where I can talk to people, so I felt like taking my life was the only explanation, or the only way out, or whatever was happening, because I just felt like it was crazy, right? I just felt crazy, and I could talk to him, like, hey, by the way, I see Michael in the corner, Jesus sitting on the couch, and Buddha's floating on the ceiling. Like, I couldn't say that to anyone besides my dog randomly barking. Yes. So how did you process the feelings of, oh my God, this is happening, the grief associated with, oh shit, I might be going crazy, and then like how did you lean on people to come out of that, to say, I'm not crazy, this is what's actually happening? Like, who helped you? Who did you bump into, rather?
My guides.
And who else? And you must have had some people to support you, right, that popped up?
At the very beginning, it was me listening to my guides, my higher self. I had a very rough period to start with, the first year, where I just couldn't process anything. So I was a bit erratic in behaviour. I had one counselling session that kick-started it. So because I just was not myself, I knew something was wrong, I didn't know what it was. So I went to this one session where all I did was spoke about what was happening. So I had a real rough time with my two girls. I almost lost Tara. She was my youngest. Epiphany had to go through a huge operation because she was deaf until she was 5. I had like lots of stuff going on that I just spoke about. And the lady said one thing to me. All she said was, the whole time you spoke about that, Pamela, you just said that you were on your own. And I had this light bulb moment that went off in my head. Like, oh my God, that's how I feel. I'm lonely. I was lonely in a marriage. That's how I felt. So that's the one thing what helped me, because I just knew from then on what I needed to do. And then everything just started to kick into place. And when I started to listen to the voices, because I know people talk about guides and stuff and voices, and I think we used to joke about it when we were younger. Like, you used to get locked up for having voices in your head.
I'll be right. I'm gonna just cut the camera, but I'm listening. Keep talking.
So it really was my guides, my voices in my head that helped me. They told me to start a spiritual group on Facebook, which is what I did. Some of the guys who are here tonight have been in that group with me from the beginning. And they told me to use that group as the sounding board almost, to talk about the dark night of the soul, to talk about those moments where you really don't want to be here, to talk about processing the emotions of grief, of losing somebody who you still have to see. That for me was probably the hardest thing, was grieving while still having to face the person. I'm just going to read some of your comments, guys, because yeah, Claire, yeah, meditation. And you know, the other thing what saved me was the Reiki. As soon as I started my Reiki, that was it. My self-healing journey really began. And I was only saying this to Andrea the other night. 4 years ago was when I started my Reiki 1. So that's when my Reiki 1 journey began. And then look where I am now. You know, how powerful. I will say to people how Reiki changed my life. Reiki and my guides is what's changed my life completely, Claire. So I so agree with you. How did you know it was your guide? Because it was a familiar voice that I remember from
I was
when
just
I was
about to
young.
say she has a question. Okay.
It was that familiar voice who was with me when I was young, who used to comfort me through some of the hard times. Like, I used to see some strange shit when I was young, and I didn't have a clue what it was, and I knew nobody else was seeing things like that. And my guide used to comfort me back then, and it was a familiar voice. And I started asking questions, and I found a group on Facebook, who I think few of you are a part of as well. And one particular lady, one teacher in that group, changed my life. And she probably doesn't even know to the extent to this day, even though I have told her, I don't think she realizes. Melanie, I'm just going to read your comment.
I was just about to say so Melanie has that, and then I wanted to ask you the follow-up comment from Cynthia. So how do you differentiate from your own voices? Because they're voices, and some of them perceive them as just voices or thoughts, right?
Yeah.
And some of them perceive them as voices. So how do you know it's not yours?
You know from your soul. That's the only way I can describe it. And it's kind of like your own voice and your higher self is different from your guides.
Thank you, Josh. Hello.
Like, your own voice is almost like an echo of yourself, whereas your guides, it's a separate soul that's talking to you. It feels different. You know by how it feels, and that's how I teach people too. The feeling aspect is the most important. Thank you so much for sharing. I was grieving for my last, but I think my guide had plans. Yes, Melanie, that's how we began together. Your guides and my guides, they had other ideas. Hi, Josh. Thank you for sharing, everyone. Hi, Brandy. Let's read your comment. Started when I lost everything in my house. Okay, there you go. See? That is a catalyst for a lot of people who begin on the spiritual awakening journey, whatever you want to call it. It's normally loss, you know. Oh, Lisa, thank you so much. Lisa, I'm glad that you're still with me too.
My internet's being weird, but I'm just gonna keep. So how I feel like. So I feel like when initially because my guides have like tried to communicate with me differently. For some, initially how it was for me, and it used to just drop in like a template or a download when I'd hear hear like that template drop in, because I was using my clear knowing at the time, what some people do, and then when they started working on the clear audience, how I tell the difference is it comes like, if it's spirit, the voice is very, because I hear different voices, right? So it comes from a spirit. The voice is very gentle, very soft, very suggestive voice, like very obvious, like it's over there, like, you know. So if I'm asking for something, just very calm, very obvious, no frustration, no judgment. It's over there. It's on the table. Wait for it. Ask him. It's like very to the point. Like, yeah, it's very to the point. And then if it's my guidance, sometimes they're a riot and they try to joke around and be like, oh my God, how did you not see this? Or they'll be like hilarious and do stupid shit, right? And then from the other voices that sometimes you walk into and you walk by and they're like either aggressive or the energy doesn't feel right or like it just, you just kind of know, I feel like. So that's how I would say you maybe differentiate. You gotta
you just get to learn the more you experience. The more you experience different type of energies is how you learn. So all of my guides at the moment, there's 6 different guides, so they're all sound, they all look different. So it's all of your clairs is how you communicate with your guides. So I've just, for some reason, ever since I was little, all of my clairs have been strong. Like they were just there. And I think it's because my purpose here, one of them, is to help people with theirs. And that's the only way I can describe it, is you can see them, feel them, hear them, smell them. Like every guide will be different. And I just think I've always had that because I was meant to help people with theirs, you know. Let's read some of the comments. Yes, Brandy, I love that. See, God has played a huge part for me too.
So I feel like,
what's going on with your internet, hun?
It's just being weird. I don't know why. It's just, I turned off most of the sites, but I think it was using YouTube in the back. I think it was using all these other sites, so I closed them all down. So hopefully that should help with it. Because they said your other stuff was using it, so I closed all of the rest of them down.
Yeah, at one point we did lose the sound.
Oh, well.
2.5 years. Okay, Cynthia. Yeah, well, mine did at one point, you know. I've been on this journey a long time now. And you just have to continue that relationship with your guides if that's what you want. Continue that communication. That's the only thing what's helped me. I've been talking about it today, of asking questions, constantly communicating and listening back, you know? Yeah.
He was very persistent, but I needed that. So Claire says, Raziel, I was well and truly persistent on my side. So there was like, for certain people, certain guidance also, I feel like, that I was aware of. Like they'd pop in like their thoughts and names. And I'd just be like, because I remember Ezekiel being with me quite a bit at the beginning. And I still love Ezekiel. I'm pretty sure he comes from time to time whenever I need him. But I also feel like because the guides shift so much and people don't realize that, for whatever they need at the moment, the guides are like, okay, I'm gonna come back because I'm good at this, and they kind of swap out and swap in, kind of like
I just think they just turn up when you need it, and they'll give you what you need, and then they'll go, and then you can call on them when you need them. And I know what you're saying, Brandy and France. Like it just comes with experience. But the only thing I can say is I've been there where I used to doubt myself, and I used to doubt it because it's telepathic communication, right, with guides. So they drop a thought in your head, and then you'll be like, well, is that me or is that them? And it's building on that trust. And that's what I help people in my circle. Like you just build on the trust, and it just takes a bit of time. Like I've got people who really used to doubt their skills, and now they can use all of their clairs, and they're trusting, and they're on the journey, and it's just beautiful. I talk to them too much. I know what you mean.
So I have a question. So whenever people are like, I don't hear them, why can't I hear my guides? What is your response to that question? When they're like, there's some people that I have sessions with, they're like, I think it's this or I think it's that, and they'll have something. And there's some people who are like, why can't I hear my guides? And I'll be like, session 26. And I'm like, they're talking to you. And they'll be like, why can't I hear my guides? Do you perhaps think that some of them have a wall or something they put up themselves so they don't hear it?
It's always us. It's always us. It's spirit are always there. It's always us, regardless of whatever block it is. I just say to them, just have one session with me, and you'll see the difference. Like it's always us. We've created a certain type of expectation that blocks, or we've created something else which stops it from working. It's nothing to do with spirit. They're always there. It's quite amazing, really.
Maybe so. Okay, so how did you? So you obviously felt like rage while you were going through this. You felt guilt.
I actually didn't have much anger. That is the one thing I didn't have much of, which I know is very surprising. Do you know the one thing with me? through all of my trauma I've experienced from when I was little, I was never angry at anybody else. I always just used to internalize it. So, and it wasn't ever anger. It was more sadness than anything. And I just used to self-sabotage. You know, I've spoke about this before. When I was really young, I used to self-harm. And then that turns into other things as you get older, doesn't it? You self-sabotage. That's what I used to do.
So it says, stand back, they can go. How did you take the limits off yourself? Like, what do you mean by that? I don't know what you mean by that, Brandy. So if you didn't, okay, so you're saying you didn't experience a whole lot of rage with it. So, but there was guilt, maybe betrayal issues. There was some kind
guilt. There's even shame, you know,
right.
There's guilt, the shame.
So how did you go about addressing or overcoming that?
With the Reiki. Okay. Self-healing meditation techniques with Reiki is what saved my life. And then when my red feather guide stepped forward and taught me the shamanic side of it, that's what shifted everything completely. You just there's something about energy work, which you know full well, that just shifts pain and it's almost like it gives you a calm energy. And that is just that's what changed for me. Was when I started working with energy, it shifted everything. And it didn't happen overnight. You know, my Reiki one I was just saying, I started 4 years ago. You know, it didn't happen overnight. But if you think about it, 4 years is not really that long. From where I was to where I am now, like I didn't own a thing in my name. Now I've got everything in my name, and it's not about the money. It's about security and it's about stability. And I had none of that. And now I've got it. And that's because I started to listen to my higher self.
So, I get that the Reiki and the energetic healing helped, obviously, but you still the emotional processing besides the energetic healing on yourself. I'm talking about, I feel this way, I feel shitty. People talk to other people. The Reiki is one because we have physical, emotional, mental, spiritual. We have all these different bodies. So you've addressed one of them. What about the others? How did you handle
Why do I have to address the others?
Just out of curiosity.
Just give me a sec. I just want to address what Lisa said. Okay. I feel like I'm ignoring the comments and I don't want to do that. So sorry, guys. I just want to read some of your comments. So thank you, Lisa. Go with your intuition and never doubt it. That's what Pam taught me. That is so important. Like, one of the things on my journey was when I just used to ignore my intuition because of the trauma that happened. I used to question it, and I lost trust with myself and with my intuition. So that's why, Lisa, thank you, Lisa, for that comment. Yes, Claire. How did you take the limits off yourself? Oh, did she answer that one? So we limit ourselves and think we're not worth it, like you guys just said. What made it easier for you able to let go? So what did you limit yourself? What did I limit myself with? It was probably belief. It's probably that self-belief, losing. So when you lose your trust with your intuition, you lose your self-belief. So that for me, I think I lost completely. And it was just I know everyone talks about it. And when I was going through it, I used to hear self-love. That's what it all is, self-love. And I used to be like, what the hell do you mean? How do I give myself love? I did not know how to do it. But that is what I did through the long journey of putting myself first, listening to what I needed is all what self-love is. Listening to you. And it's really digging deep for me on what the trauma was. And it was when I started to write my book was when I really started to understand what my trauma was and how I used to respond to the trauma, and then building healthy relationships on the back of that. And that's just, it's such a huge discussion to have that it can't be just a one paragraph answer. Does that make sense, Brandon? Thanks, Melanie.
I've learned through time to use my brain before talk or action. You have to relearn who you were, pretty much. Lack of believing in us. I think there's a I think on the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual level, because there are different levels on there. I think the working on myself spiritually helped a lot. Like a big chunk of that was working on myself with energy modalities and like getting help from guidance and mentors, and
Yeah.
a lot of it was myself. So I also saw counselors because I needed more than just like this part done. And then as far as the physical part, I got chiropractic. I went to open energetic centers different ways, massages, chiropractic, and then my emotional body. I had to talk to someone about it.
Oh, I didn't do any of that.
So I just because it's on such a different level for me. So I had
Everybody's different though, aren't they? Everyone's
right,
different.
right. So that's what I was asking. So I was like on the physical, spiritual, mental level. And on the mental level, I had to figure out why certain things were happening. I wasn't happy with some answers when people said it's just the way it is. That didn't work for me. I needed to figure out deeper as why this was going on.
Yeah.
And so that's just how I function.
Yeah. For me, it was more about the trauma. It was, especially when you've been involved with narcissistic abuse, like it can really get you in a spin. And when I started to learn more about the behavior that was involved in that and how I was responding to that, and when you learn that actually I accepted a lot of that and didn't do anything about it, and why, and all that stuff, what really helped me. But I did that myself. So yeah, I've just dig down deep and to find out about the trauma really for me, and then learn healthy behaviours on the back of it. It sounds so easy, but it's not. Like, and writing my book for me is what changed the whole process, because I was actually seeing it in black and white. One, there was no running away from it, and two, it helped me to realise where it stemmed from. All the different things that have happened, and learning actually my behaviour in a lot of it. And that was a real eye opener when I started to actually. I wasn't to blame for what happened, but actually I allowed a lot of things to happen. That was a huge turning point. So it's just not an easy answer. Like, it's so long winded when it comes to trauma.
So you're saying taking responsibility helped a lot. So I think that's really powerful, because that's a lesson I have to learn, where I had to like start taking responsibility and saying, this is happening to me and he did this to me, and why is everyone so shitty and this and that, like, you know, like I know that you have those emotional responses, so you're valid to feel the way you feel, but at the same time taking that responsibility, saying, I allowed this to happen, I let this happen, because nothing would have happened without my say so or my control. So
why was I allowing that to happen? And that opened a new doorway for me.
There we go. Yeah. And then you kind of like do that and you kind of go down that rabbit hole a little bit. And then you just finally figure out, oh, wait, I have an anxious attachment style. I have an avoidant attachment style. I have this trauma, my mother wounding, that makes me react this way. That makes me.
It's learning about yourself.
Right.
And then when you've learned about yourself, then you learn to love yourself. That's when true healing starts. And I used to hate the word self-love. And even though it makes me laugh.
Self-care is just a different level by itself.
Different. It's when you actually do the work on yourself and you don't run away from it anymore. That's what I used to do, to run away from it. Or I used to put it down here. You know, if that doesn't feel very uncomfortable, if something not very nice happened to me, I would put it down here. Worst thing you can ever do. And now I just face it. Hi, Isabel.
Hi, John.
Thank you for all your lovely comments.
Isabel, blessed be. Thank you. I'm listening to my life story. Brandy says she feels like she's listening to her life story. That's fun.
Yeah, and that's the awesome thing about sharing. That's why we love to share, because it just helps. You know, it'll help more people than you realise. And that's one reason why I started my group, was because I knew I wasn't on my own. I just knew it wasn't just me that was going through this. And I knew there was a higher purpose for it. And that's why my guides were like, oh, you need to do this. I was like, okay, why? Well, you'll see. You know, they are a little cryptic. Like, you know, you'll see, you'll find out. I'm like, okay. Boy, did I.
And then so the books was something interesting that you brought up. So you said you were writing books and stuff, and I was also, writing, like, I have certain things. I used to write in a diary, and then I was obviously write my book. But another way that I used to deal with the mental aspect of it is I would read books about it, right? There's like Audible, there's like shit tons of stuff on spirituality, like Dolores Cannon, there's that. YouTube has a crap ton of stuff. Books, there's so many stuff. So it's like, if you really are dedicated and like you're committed to like helping yourself get better on any level, they have lots of assistance. It's just okay. So I feel like people say stubbornness can be bad, but for certain, and I feel like this applies to you as well. There's a certain level of stubbornness that's also good, because the people who are stubborn to a certain extent are resilient, or they just don't listen to other people. They get shit done. Like you do, you have that, and you get that shit done. It helps you.
Yeah. I am one of those women that gets shit done, even when it comes down to something small. Like, seriously, like, I'm not one to sit around. And I know what you mean about the stubbornness, but now I don't know whether that's the right word for what I'm going to say. But
persistent.
So I used to see a lot of spiritual teachers, like, you mentioned obviously the Dolores Cannon, and like there was so many others around at the time, and I used to listen, but I never used to think, that hits the spot. Like, for me, it was just, there was always something deeper. There was always something more that I had to find out, and that was me. I never used to focus on any particular thing. I used to listen to my higher self. I listened to my guides. At the time, I didn't realize it was my higher self. And you do have to figure out, well, what's your higher self, and what is it your guides are saying, and why, and it is a whole journey. But that is what my journey is, basically. Thanks, Brenda.
Yeah, got issue shoving stuff down. Yeah, and that's Dolores Cannon books. Yeah, I just the thing is, so how I used to do it was I'd find one piece of information, and then I remember when I was initially didn't have like guidance. Well, I did have guidance, but not like a mentor. So I just find one piece of like one line of information somewhere, Google that. We have like 15 tabs open, one thing left another, and then there'd be like separate links, and open those links, try to find answers, write stuff, try to make more answers, write stuff down, try to make like the pieces fit, and then like try to, obviously the rest of it, like you said, was guidance. Like they give you tidbits here and there, but the rest of it you really can't get from one place. One place isn't satisfying, so it was guidance. You're right.
Yeah, I remember doing that at one point. This just sticks out in my mind when you said it, so I'm going to say it. So I remember doing that at one point, and my guide said to me, "Well, okay, that's all well and good, but what about your own?" So that was it for me. I was like, "Yeah, I'm so glad you said that," because I felt like I was going round in circles and round in circles, and it was like, what is it saying to you? What are you saying about it? Listen to me. What am I saying about it? And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Going in circles was enough. It was never enough, Pamela. Like, no matter how much internet information I got, it was wonderful information, but the level I wanted satisfied wasn't enough.
Yeah. And for me, though, it's the discernment as well, because especially nowadays, there's too much stuff out there. And like I always say to people in my group and whoever I'm working with, like, if something doesn't feel right to you, it doesn't feel right, just leave it, just park it, don't worry about it. If something feels right, there's a reason. If it doesn't feel right, there's a reason. And that's the thing that I went through. I started to read a lot of other stuff. It was like, that doesn't feel right, so I'm going to leave that.
Yeah, I would. So there was stuff there I'd feel like, oh shit, I really shouldn't mess with this. And then there was stuff that I was like, okay, I need to wait on this. Like, but then I feel like I had guidance for that too, where they're just like, yo, chill out. Like you're overextending yourself or overwhelming yourself. Like, and that's Damien in the background that you hear. My dog's like, shit. He's a heavy talk. So like Cynthia says, this is interesting. Talking about your guides, you sound like a lot like aha moments. Cynthia, to be fairly honest, a lot of my life, and I'm pretty sure Pamela has like lots of aha moments, but I'd be feeling that's like more often than not. Because I'll be like, oh yeah, like I'll be even in sessions or we'll do stuff and like messages come through. I'm like, oh, I guess that's true. Or I'll be like, that's pretty cool. And especially when you're channeling, you don't really remember it as if you're channeling straight through spirit.
Yeah.
You don't remember messages, or you're like, oh, that's a cool message.
Like sometimes I'll forget. You'll forget what you've even said when you're channeling, and when you watch it back, sometimes you'll be like, "Oh shit, yeah, that's pretty cool." Yeah, but I know what you mean by the aha moments. It does feel a little bit like that. It does, but you do get there. Like Vance just said, you can get the goosebumps. I get goosebumps all the time as confirmation from a spirit. If I get them on my arms and my legs, it's like that's a huge confirmation. Like everyone's got their thing, what they have as their confirmation when they're working with spirit. You'll know what it is because you'll feel it. You'll physically feel it. What do they call it? Like the spiritual chills, or you'll get it in some other way. Like I just hear it directly, but some people see it directly. Some people just have the knowing. But yeah, I love the goosebumps. Yeah. Yes. Oh, Josh has just said, yeah.
She's excited for trans channeling. So yeah,
I love trans.
Well, have you seen some of these people, Pamela, trans channeling, where they're just like shaking and they just start levitating and like where they full on that spirit takeover and they have themselves do it. So there's
I had a couple of people on my festivals who did it. So maybe not levitating. So Elaine Thorpe was on my festival. I had Andrew. What's his surname? I had Steve Newton, and what I loved about Steve Newton was he could flip track into his guide in the middle of a conversation. And like you could just obviously see him transform and his voice completely transform and then go off on talking about something that's like wow in the middle of a conversation. That to me blew me away. That was about 3 years ago. But I've only ever sat trance a couple of times myself and let my guide blend with me. It's quite fascinating.
I like the blending of energies with my guides. It helps if I say, hey, whenever you're the specific guide, tap me on my shoulder or do this to my cheek. Like I have a guide before they start channeling or they start mending their energy with mine. They do this.
Yeah. That's
cool. Okay, that's you. All right, let's go. So like it's like they have like you can tell them to have like give you certain signs so you don't. Some people I know freak out when their guides try to communicate.
Yeah, I used to go to Trance Circle. And we used to sit and I let my guide use my voice box a couple of times, which was a bit, like, wow. Yeah, that was an experience and a half. And then we used to do what do they call it now? It's more so physical mediumship. So like spirit would actually lift the table off the ground, walk around with all the different we used to do things like that. It was pretty awesome.
That's pretty cool. Brandy says I get goosebumps especially when I'm singing songs. Well, that goosebumps is more of like so whenever we're laughing, like me and Pamela just keep like saying stuff and we start laughing, or people start dancing, or people when I start singing, and like that's how you like release energy and clear yourself to some extent.
That's probably what that is.
Yeah, you're clearing yourself. When you do certain activities, they raise your vibration and you clear yourself. So whether being singing, that's kind of what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right. So go ahead.
You get the feeling in your belly. So Brandy's also said I got the feeling in my belly but don't know the meaning. Okay, work on that and ask your guide to do it again. Ask your guide to keep doing it and ask what it is. It's just probably your confirmation. Just work on it with them. That's the only way we learn.
They'll have different meanings to it. Hi, Maeve. So Isabel says, can we talk to our children's ancestors and spiritual guides? Yes.
I do with mine. Do with my children. Yeah.
Yeah. How can one do that? Thank you.
How? By asking, by communicating. How you do with spirit? By just communicating. Like I have to do it with, I won't say it too loud because my girls are running upstairs. And know my eldest, she might hear me. But like when my eldest was younger, I had to protect her energy a lot with her guides for her on her behalf, especially when it came to nighttime. because she's extra sensitive like me. She used to see a lot in nighttime. So yeah, I used to do that all the time. Obviously she's my child, so I can do that, and I have the discernment to do that. But yeah, it's possible. Just ask them, start communicating. Hi everybody.
Yeah, it's a lot simpler than we make it out to be. It's not that like we have a special, like, it's not like if I pick up this little vial that suddenly I'll be able to do that. It's literally, it's a lot simpler than we think it is. Maybe it's a cupcake. I don't know. It's a secret cupcake that lets us do it, just whatever it is. Claire says, do you clear your energy fields? As I found this, you always have to clear your energetic field.
God, yes.
If you work energy, and if you're spiritual mentor, teacher, whatever, you got to work, especially between clients, because obviously it just comes with the practice where they're dumping or you're dumping. You got to always clear, always.
Yeah. One thing I've had to start teaching my oldest for school is that how to clear her energy field. That's why I taught her Reiki, so she can start, looking after her energy, because it's just huge. I wish that I'd had that when I was at school.
Yeah, well, they're so open too, so energy just kind of like.
Yeah, I know. And then she wonders why she's got a headache, or she just can't cope with big spaces, lots of people, So I'm going through that with her now. Yeah, that's a biggie.
The fact that
I love the question.
Isabel, okay, Isabel. So I'm a Mayan shamanic. I'm in a. So I practice Mayan shamanism, if that's a thing, and so the fact that ancestors are Mayan, is that in any way different? Yes, it is. So because we are. Yes, I want to be a little snarky about this. Yes, because we are Mayan, we have to hold this specific vial like this. And then we do it, because that's how the Mayan practices are. No, that's not, it doesn't matter, my dear. It's literally like there's no difference. Like we have different practices. So maybe my Mayan spirituality, Mayan shamanic spirituality is different from another person's shamanic spirituality, because there's different there's different way we practice spirits, and there's different shamans. So yes, we practice spirit, or we perceive spirit our way, but we don't need, just because our ancestors are different. You have many guidances. You have Mayan, you have Atlantean, you have this, you have that, you have Incan, you have African guides. Right now you have super strong African guides, ancestors, whatever you want to call it.
Even the starseed guides. So,
yeah,
they're no different.
Guides. You have like the Mayan. You have Mayan. You have African. You have African.
My soul language is Mayan.
Right.
The energy just feels different. That's all. That's the only difference. That's with everything.
And you have African guides, and I don't know if you're any part African, but that doesn't really matter, right?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. Great questions, by the way.
Becky says hello.
Hi, Becky.
Hello.
Questions.
They're questions. It's just, you guys, you're a lot more powerful than you give yourself credit for, I feel like. And you I don't know why you piece it off so much and separate it, because it doesn't really need to be. All you have to sometimes do is, I can just put intention, be like, boom, I want to do this. And sometimes I'll have to meditate with it, and sometimes it's literally just intention. That guide will pop in. That's it. Intention.
Intention is the most powerful thing that you can use with spirit and with energy. All it is intention. And there's some people out there, I know, that maybe not more so now, but probably when I was learning, they would say you need something special. Like, oh my God, you need a red candle to do this, and you need a yellow candle to do that. Like, you don't actually. You just actually need your intention. But yeah. Intention's all you need.
Sorry, I've actually had someone do that. They were like, they had a red and a blue in the circle, and then like yellow around the corner, and then they had certain dust, and you had to put your hand a specific way, and this way. And I was like, can I like, no, stop. I'm not.
What happens if I blow some purple on it?
I'm not doing that much shit. You don't need to.
I'm sorry, we're taking the mickey now, and we probably shouldn't. But yeah, it's just all intention,
Well, the thing is, I'm doing that because we have to, like, people are way too serious about certain things.
Yeah.
You need to see how, like, easy and lighthearted it is. I'm not trying to make fun of someone to make fun of someone. I'm trying to say, hey, maybe spirituality doesn't have to be that serious.
Yeah.
You can have spirituality be fun and light and still do all the fun stuff.
Yeah, it's so true. I just think like bringing that lightness to it and laughter to it helps just switch it up.
How do you know what kind of guides you have? You meditate with them, you go in sessions, you ask questions, you continue meditation. Ooh, why did I say medication? So you just need to you have to be persistent though. You can't go in a session and be like, what are my guides? And then you go back in a session maybe a month later and they're like, what are my guides? Obviously, A, they're going to change. B, have you talked to the guys we told you about before? Have you connected with them? So you have to because A, they'll keep changing, and B, you have to do the work. So you have to sit there. The only difference between someone that you see on the television doing lives and doing healings and readings, the only difference between you and that person is maybe that person sits a little bit longer. Maybe they meditate. Maybe they sit every single day. Maybe they actually are dedicated and are consistent with the work than some other people are. That's the only difference. Anyone can do all what we're doing.
For me, it's depending on your clairs as well. So when you're asking what kind of guides you have, you're going to use your clairs to find out. So the seeing, the hearing, the knowing, it's using your psychic skills to find out more. So there's the communication when you asking, what clair is it that's the strongest for you? Try and work on the others that aren't. That's the best thing that I do with people. I absolutely love it. So yeah, it's all about the clairs. Hi, Zay.
Hi, Zay. Hello. Yeah, it truly doesn't. It is all about intention. Sure, go learn about the Mayan gods. That's great. I had a time where I was learning about Greek and Roman mythology too. I wondered. I loved.
Yeah, beautiful, Isabel.
Okay, so
it doesn't have to be cash grab. Oh, don't get me started talking about cash grab.
I was just about to. I was like, should I really talk about that? Because okay, so here's the thing, Pamela, with the cash part of it. I'm just gonna try to keep this a little bit brief. So we're not maybe 50, 100 years ago where you wear a toga and you sit under a tree. I've actually had a client say this to me. So sit under a toga, in an orange thing, under a tree, and pretty much maybe not eat, fast for days, or maybe you just eat whatever you find, a leaf or some rice, and we're not in that day and age, bro. We're not there. So this is our major in this world. Please show me how a person, if this is their business and this is their livelihood and they love helping people, whether it be nurses or spiritual teachers or whatever, how is cash bad? The people who think cash is bad, it's the second chakra, bro. So if you have certain guilt and shame about certain things on the second chakra, are you struggling to maybe have intimate relationships? Are you struggling maybe to pull in cash? Are you always concerned or anxious about cash, your first and second chakra? Or do you have a good relationship with cash?
Yeah, I'm at peace with that now. There was at one point where it used to bother me. Years ago, it used to bother me. Are you really spiritual if you're worried about making money? That type of thing. I'm at peace with it now. For me, money doesn't even exist anyway. So it's just one of those things that we need.
You got to pay for the house. You got to pay for the car. It just is what it is. You don't have to be bad or good. Don't have to put shadow on money for that.
What I don't like is people that, are the cash grabbers that just are in it for the money. You can spot it from a mile off. You can see it and feel it in the energy from a mile off, but not everybody can. There's the public out there that probably can't feel the energy. They don't know. And that's the only thing that slightly bothers me, although I'll just leave it to spirit and the universe. It'll sort itself out. Don't get involved in it. But
do you mean people who oversell, suppose, do you mean the sense of suppose where someone says I can do a clearing for someone and they charge $4,000 as opposed to someone who does it for $400? Do you mean like that, or do you mean
kind of, or the people that just downright can, what I used to call missell, say they can do something when they can't actually do it, or charge people for it. I have an issue with that.
Okay.
But I will just walk away, obviously, you know, leave it to spirit. But that I have an issue with.
Yeah, I try not to let that bother me because I see it quite a bit.
Same.
So
Same.
I try to just be like, I see what you're doing. That's your karma. I'm just gonna walk away from it. It
Yeah.
used to bother me quite a bit, and I'd be like, "Yo, why are you saying like, what are you doing?" Like, I'll be
What
seeing
bothers
it.
me? It doesn't bother me as in like I'm gonna do anything. It just bothers me when I get clients come to me and tell me, and you know, they've had to go through the hardship. They're like, this is people's lives you're messing with. That I don't like.
Or
But you
they
know,
tell them they did something, and they're like, I agree. I'm not gonna talk more. They're like, let's move on. So Josh has agreed. You don't need to
yeah,
5 ingredients for one intention. I agree, Josh.
yeah, exactly.
You don't need
I
to.
like that, Josh.
Oh my god.
Imposter, yeah.
I know you need a lot of discernment to tell who's who. Which
See, Melanie, it's an important topic. It's important because the public don't know what we know. You know, it's an important topic. Thanks, Melanie.
Yeah, there are, and just in anything, there's genuine and ingenuine people, and that's discernment on the person and the people going to them. So, it is what it is. So moving on from that. So how did you
Maybe I might do a live just talking about that.
probably? I'm pretty sure you can do a whole thing on it. What have you learned? Okay, so you're so intuitive, right, Pamela? So you already know certain things already before it even happens. Sometimes before they even tell you, before the situation's like while it's happening. So you're so intuitive with that. So what have you learned? How did you maneuver relationships with being who you are? Because you're
Oh gosh,
oh,
that's difficult. Even even still today, like I, I've always been able to feel the truth underneath everything. So after having relationships with people, I used to struggle to get close to people because of that. Because you have to use your discernment in that relationship as well. Because obviously you know things that they're not ready to discuss. So you have to leave it and park it till they're ready. But that's not easy. How do you have a intimate relationship? Let's talk about how do you have an intimate relationship with somebody when you know certain things that they're not ready to discuss? That was a killer for me, and can still be. But luckily, I've found somebody now that's like, you know, a little bit different. But you kind of learn to use your discernment. But it's very difficult. It's not easy. I've not had easy connections and relationships on this earth plane because of that.
So how do you like? Do you? So then the follow up question would be, how do you?
I just trust in spirit and the universe because they ultimately it's going to work out no matter what.
Okay,
And it's
but
having that insight and using it, finding out the truth. You can see sometimes what's going to happen. Sometimes you're not meant to. Sometimes you're meant to have a lesson. We were talking about lessons before. It just depends. There's so many different variants for me. But ultimately, it's the trust. It all boils down to trust.
okay, so trust. So how do you maneuver on the physical plane? Spirit's great, and trusting is great. But how do you on the physical plane while you're interacting with someone, like I mentioned before in that scenario? How do you handle that? How do you maneuver around that situation when you feel like
Go through the experience like everybody else.
no, like not the vague answer, Pamela. I'm asking you to like be like very specific. Like suppose someone's saying,
You're not going to get any personal info from me.
yeah, like a if someone's having trouble and they're like doubting themselves and they're like, is this my intuition? Is this the truth that I'm seeing? Or are they lying? Or are they telling the truth? And they don't trust themselves, right? So they're
You have to wait it out. It's the only way. You have to have patience, trust, and wait it out. It's the only way. You can't manipulate what's going to happen. There's no easy other way to say that. Not from my experience, anyway. You just have to go through the lessons and trust. And it's a killer and it's not easy. But that, you know, that is all it is. And even when you can, the worst thing is when you get a premonition of something and you've still got to go through the experience. Like, geez, can you not give me a break? I tell you what, people don't realize how hard it is when you have gifts where you can see things, hear things that I don't know whether I wanted to at that point, you know? Like, I know I'm so appreciative of my gifts. I don't mean it in that way. I just sometimes, like, I would rather not know. But like, I am ultimately, so grateful. And it's just really difficult because the pain that goes involved with it. It's especially you can understand it from the soul perspective, you can understand it from the spiritual perspective, but your human self has still got to experience pain. Nobody likes that. Honestly, I could write a book just on that subject.
Oh, you froze for a second there. Okay.
That was the energy.
So what I would say to that, in my opinion, is you got to start trusting yourself, and what you're seeing is what you're seeing, or what you're perceiving, you're perceiving. So trusting yourself is big. And then the second part is, one, the person you've waited and you've maybe expressed how you felt, and you see the person understood what you're saying, and then they continued the behavior that you told them made you feel uncomfortable, unsafe, whatever it is, and they've shown you that they don't care how you feel about it consistently, like more than once.
Then you take some action and you like put a stop to it.
Yeah.
Francis actually asked a good question. Can you put that on the screen, please?
Hold on 1 second. They're like talking. Just setting boundaries is really important with that. They're like,
you do something about it. Comes to a point where you can't just sit back.
Okay, there's a few comments. Which one do you want on the screen?
So Francis said, "Can't you turn it off in a relationship? Isn't it invading their privacy?"
Turn what off?
The gift of being able to feel the truth.
No, you can't impose on someone's free will. No.
She's saying, can you turn it off? Can't you turn it off? Turn your gift off in a relationship.
Well, sure, you can shut off your chakras and stop them from spinning the right way, but do you really want to do that?
Exactly. And for how long? Do you just do it for half an hour? Do you do it for the day? Do you do it every time you're with that person? Why would you want to switch off everything that's telling you everything?
Plus, they'll put you into pain.
And I'll tell you something. I know you have to use, this is why you have to use discernment, France, because I don't get a choice. I don't get a choice as to when it switches on and off. I can control it. I can control it, say, if I'm going to a certain, environment. I can protect my energy and ask not to receive anything at all. But you're not going to do that in a personal relationship.
Mm-hmm.
What's the point in that? And, like, I can just walk down the street and be told something by somebody who walks past me. Like, I don't ask for that. Nowadays, energy is at a certain point in this earth plane way different from years ago. Years ago, it's all about ethics, and you don't tap into anybody else's energy, and I completely get that. I'm a lawyer, like ethics is huge for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't stop it. Energy's at a certain level now on this earth plane where, the young ones today, like they're working with energy in way different ways than what we used to. You've really got to use your discernment. That's just a huge one.
Yeah. And she goes, that's not what I mean. The person in a relationship has no privacy this way. So you don't have to constantly read him too. The thing is, we can choose. We don't have to read people. The thing is, I choose who I want to read. Sometimes I get information all the time and I can tell my guides, be like, hey, look, I don't want to see this. Don't show me this. Don't tell me this. Because some people live in such a trauma response. When I used to do this too. When I walk into the room, I immediately start reading left, right, center, up, down. Like I do it automatically sometimes. So I have to calm myself down and be like, oh, I don't need to do this. I don't need to be in that like panic state where I'm like trying to read everything around the room, trying to know my surroundings and trying to feel exactly how they're feeling. Just ask. You don't have to read them. That's what's happening.
And and half the time it's not something that you want to do. I'm not, I don't go into a relationship wanting to know how the truth feels. But that's just the way it is for me.
You don't have to turn it off is our point. You can have boundaries.
Yeah.
It's we'll have to talk about it in like more, I think more later.
Yeah. It's an important discussion. Boundaries are huge.
Boundaries are huge because a lot of people nowadays, like some of the people I'll just like will message me. Some of the people will be like wanting sessions. They'll message me. They'll start trying to read me and I'm like, bro. And I was like, start spinning them around and I'll be like, you can't read me now. But like, so I'll be like, so they don't have discernment, especially the younger ones or some of the people who are just
it's gone way the other way now.
They don't realize what they're doing, and they just go way into someone's boundaries, way into someone's field, and you have to like pull them out gently and be like, don't do that.
But you know what? That's their lesson to go through, though. You know, if that's, you know.
Brandy says, I have a fear of people as well getting better in my discernment. Yeah, you're working on it. Maeve says, have you gals ever had to turn away a client because you just knew they weren't ready to receive an answer? No, you don't have to turn away clients, in my opinion. You just have to, so what I'll do is I'll go around in circles sometimes with them. I'll try to say it in a way where their ego is not trying to shut off from getting the answer. But some people's ego is so strong, they'll just, you have to try it in different ways, in a very non-threatening way for them.
Try and be a bit more diplomatic with them and put it in a way that spirit will normally help you with that. And sometimes they won't. Sometimes it just needs to be hard hitting. You know, it just depends.
Yeah.
It just depends. But I've never had to turn anyone away. Normally I can just find a way of giving the answer in a way that I know it's not going to hurt them. But sometimes they have to go through that as well. So it just depends.
Yeah, you don't have to turn people away. But some people, you have to say it up front if they just don't get it or they refuse to hear it. And then if they still feel guided towards you, they'll come. If they won't, they won't. You got to let that go. Let's see.
Yeah, that's so true, Day. That's so true.
What does he say? It's a lot like other instincts. Your sense of smell just smells. Now your significant other smells like someone else's perfume. Now it let you know something, but you wouldn't turn off your natural sense of smell for your purpose person. That's an interesting analogy.
I knew for Zay to write something, it was going to be good.
Yeah.
I love that. It's like, yeah, I just think you're meant to go for the experiences that you're meant to, you know. And for me, one of my challenges has always been that.
Okay, let's see. So, question, Pamela.
Yeah.
How do you feel about this word? This word, they put it in very like loose.
Thanks, Brandy. Bye. Love you.
Thank you, Brandy. Have a good day. So it's a very loose term, as people be thrown on these words maybe without knowing exactly what it means. And they use karma, soulmates, contracts, twin flames, all interchangeably. Maybe there's, the slight difference, or there's a varying difference on what you'd want to call what. But how do you feel about contracts, soulmates, karmics, etc.? Like, where do you feel like, okay, my contract has ended with this person, let me move on, or continuing the same path over and over and over again?
It's a toughie, because ultimately I kind of know that it's all for the higher purpose, whatever that is. So ultimately it's like, I know the purpose of it. So I don't feel here and there, but it's taken me a while to get to that point. If you'd have asked me that last year, it probably would have been a different answer, because I was still going through one. But now I'm kind of really open about it.
Okay.
And I understand the purposes of it's. Just what makes me laugh about us is that us humans, we give these things labels, and it's like, in spirit there's no labels, and like the twin flame thing bugs me a little bit. Used to bug me more.
Wait, tell me why.
Used to bug me more because it's just a soul contract. It's just a soul connection. There's no fucking flame. Like, I get what you mean, but like, don't, like, and the people that pull on people about it, I'm like, oh Jesus, sorry.
Or like,
but, it's just a soul connection. And yes, I get that it's like, I get the dynamics of it. I get the runner and the chaser, and I get the pulls and the pushes, but it's just, a soul connection.
Okay. So how much?
Sorry, was you not expecting that?
Right. No. So like, okay. So Pamela, so how do you know, what do you feel about it when people say, but he's my twin flame. He's just on this healing path of his journey and I'm going to be understanding even though he left me and now he has a second baby mama and now he is going through this and he keeps coming back and forth to me, but I just know that he's my twin. So I'm just going to like put up with it and hold space for his healing. And he beats me sometimes, but he's my twin flame. He's a little
twin
abusive.
flame, so it's okay for you to be manipulated. Like, no. Like when I had a client not so long ago that was a little bit like that, and I just told her to take the word twin flame out of all of the conversation because that helped her realize that just taking that label off immediately released something from her. And I was like, see, like, they are, it's just a soul. It's just a connection that you have that's going through this particular stage in your life. That's the way I see it anyway.
Someone tell me, oh, I'm married and he's married and we both have kids, but he's my twin flame. So like we work together and we also do our thing. I'm like, why aren't you guys separate from the marriage? They're like, no, we love our partners, but he's my twin. I just can't help it. What? Like, no, that's not a thing. You want to cheat? You want to go ahead and cheat? Go ahead. Something. Okay, so my point that I'm making, guys, while we're like gently pulling the Mickey out of this term.
I know.
The point that we're trying to make is if someone's being verbally, mentally, physically abusive towards you or manipulating you or hurting you in any way, he is not your soulmate, twin flame, or someone you're supposed to be.
Exactly. There's some things I've seen, and it was a while ago now. So, and I'm not going to say any names or anything like that, so don't panic. But like, there's some things that like were out there about you should be experiencing this pain because that's what the twin flame is. Oh man, that just sent something up my spine when I saw that. Yeah, I think it's calmed down a bit now, thankfully. But you know, it's a spin that we were talking about earlier about some of those imposters or some of those people that are just after money that use, and it's a very dangerous game to go into. Very dangerous, especially when you throw in the 5D and the flipping, oh God, the telepathic communication. And I'm like, don't even get me started on that one because I will just be here all night.
Is it your twin flame or are you communicating with some guy down the hall? Like, no.
God, you make me laugh.
Oh my God. No, really, because like I get telepathic communications all the fucking time. Do you know who you're talking to? It's the same thing like your guidance. Are you picking up messages from the guy who like down the hall tries to steal your cupcakes? Or like are you trying to like message your twin flame?
Yeah.
Talking on the 5D. What are you talking about? So you have to use discernment. And if is someone who loves you and respects you, you can call him whatever you want. You want to call me your sugar daddy? You want me to call him your twin flame? You want to go call him daddy? Whatever. But like, he has to respect you and not be abusive. If he's abusive, even if he's your twin flame, does not matter.
Yeah. The problem is that when you throw trauma in the mix, a lot of people can like snatch onto that twin flame, and then it's just another element of that trauma bond that kicks in, and I don't like that. I've seen that quite a few times. And it's not a nice experience for someone to go through because I've seen a few people on the other end that are a mess because of that or were. It's difficult.
Yeah, it is. And so if there are twin flames, let's say that twin flames can be brother and sister. Twin flames can be best friends. It doesn't always have to have a sexual relationship, and it doesn't always have to be. Sometimes you can have like a person, a soulmate that comes in that like you guys have signed a contract saying, oh, let's teach each other this lesson. And then, you know, you can choose to change that contract once you're like, okay, you guys being an asshat, I don't like this, change it. Or like have that happened during your life. You don't have to go through the same trauma. You don't have to choose. You don't have to choose to go through the same trauma over and over again.
Yeah. Zay just made a good comment about that as well. You know, it doesn't have to always be romantic.
Literal twins, yeah.
Yeah, John, definitely. It is out there. It's still misunderstood, you know.
Yes.
I try not to get involved in it too much because I would probably be too mouthy.
I would love Pamela being too mouthy.
I could really tell some people about themselves, but I just stay away from it, you know.
Yes.
Can't be dealing with that energy. I just put out the truth, like I feel the truth, and what I feel resonates with my soul. And if you don't like it, then don't. But if you do, then you do. I try not to get into too much into it.
I'm just
yeah, free will.
Many people strongly preordained course of events next, but it's like it's supposed to happen. Jesus, John, like I swear, like you and me and her, Pamela, can talk about this forever. I feel like we'll just go on ranting. I feel at some point we're just gonna be like, look, we need a shot. Everyone takes shots every time someone says twin flame. That'd be a fun drinking game.
Can I bring oh no, I better not. It's probably going to be a bit too controversial. Go ahead. No. Which one? But just want to say something about what John said. It's like when I was younger and I was going through all this, learning about true spirituality, and I was very much like that. I was very much like, well, it's meant to happen this way. And I still believe that, things, have been set out before we were born and we made the contracts and blah, blah, blah. But I actually believe and I know that we can change it too. I know because firsthand, I've done it.
Yeah, we can change our contracts. They're not set in stone. Well, most things aren't set in stone.
Yeah, not everything can be. And that's what we have to be careful with. Like, I don't know. I can't only speak for myself. You just have to be careful again with that discernment thing keeps coming round. It's like you've just got to be careful who you speak to and who you rely on and the sources that you go for information, but you can yourself change your timeline,
Mm-hmm.
When I first did it the first time, I was just like, oh my gosh, it's like a hallelujah moment.
Mm-hmm. Like when you're like, oh wait, I don't have to do this because I had this thing going back and forth, right? And he just he wouldn't go through stuff. He'd come back to me. Actually, he came back recently, and he's on some same shit. And I'm just like, look, I love you. I have love for you, but let's not. And then so I changed the contract. I was like, boopity boop.
Yeah, we're not doing that again.
Yeah, you can talk to me. You can be this. I will love and support your journey, but we're not doing this.
Yeah. Bye.
Yeah.
Do you have 3 days to
make John says, do I have 3 days to make a decision? No, apparently it's 5 to 7 business days, John.
Oh my God. You can take as long as you want, boy.
No take backs. Warranty not included. I agree. I was supposed to show up to this live. Yes, you were, John. I was wondering why I felt like eating pizza, but then that makes more sense now. Whenever I eat cheese, anything cheese related or pizza related, I have to tell John. I'm like, where's John in these comments?
I'm so glad John and Zaya are here because, like, it just helps, when you get it,
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't that contradict where you're supposed to be statement? Well, and that's the point.
Discernment. Yes.
That's the point. I think that is there for a reason. That's how we grow and learn. And that is what it's all about, isn't it? Growth at the end of the day.
Because if you trauma, how Pamela brought up that wonderful example earlier, she said trauma is a big thing. Trauma bonding is a big thing. And we're joking about it and making this a lighthearted conversation so everyone's not in tears. But that's another thing though. So if we're only on a certain level, so let's say a guy that I met 2 years ago, my trauma, I hadn't healed certain things where it was like my daddy issues or where it was like love issues and where I felt like, oh my God, this guy was the end all be all. And then now, if I talk to him now, I'm just like, what was I thinking? So the appeal isn't there.
Oh my God.
You've healed that trauma, so you're not vibrating at that trauma level that you did before. So you're not like a bond. So you're like, so you see them, you're like, no trauma bond. So that's how it works.
When I look back I've actually watched the same person try and manipulate me now, and I'm like, oh wow. What trance was I under?
That's so true. I'd be looking at it like, wow.
And I remember looking at him I didn't even say a word. I just gave him the look of, that's not going to work anymore.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
I remember walking going, wow, I actually got goosebumps. I've got goosebumps while I've just said that.
Yes.
Crazy.
You need to make that coffee Irish, France. We're all gonna take shots one day. We're gonna do a live, Pamela.
With
It's gonna be a funny live, and we're gonna take shots. I don't know. We're doing it sometime.
Are we doing tequila? Are we doing tequila?
Tequila. As long as it's not whiskey or vodka, I'm game. Because I still can't take the smell of vodka from like 10 years ago.
That's fine.
I remember I smell vodka, like orange vodka. I'm like, death.
Yeah, John, it's the choice and the discernment and the trust, so important. So important.
Yeah, and John's pretty cool about that too. He's pretty, good to talk to about like emotional depth and like he's like some people, how some people shy away from it. John's pretty good. Like he doesn't do that, and so does Jay. Ayahuasca shots. Zay, don't no.
Yeah, can we do that?
No.
I think I know for a fact that would have some fun.
No, I'm not. You guys do whatever you want to do.
Oh, could you imagine? We'd be like jumping.
She literally started.
Oh, you froze?
Yeah, you froze. You said jump and then you froze. I'm like, she really jumped.
Yes, let's not go there. Let's not go.
Let's not do that. All right. So I have last question I have here.
Yay. Okay.
Obviously, we'll answer questions too, but last question we have here, because I know Pamela has to do things as well.
Yeah.
See this? She goes, yeah.
I'm looking at the clock, thinking my little ones are upstairs. Well, not little. They're not little, but
they're always little ones. Spirit little ones sometimes. What brings you peace? Like to end this conversation. Like what is like? I know sometimes things can be chaotic, can frustrating. Just it is what it is. Even though you have that mindset of, this is everything is happening for my greatest and highest good. I need to be with it, go with the flow. So even if you know all those, what brings you peace? What brings you like, fuck this, I'm gonna go do this and feel at peace?
It's a few things. I was trying to think what the cat naps. You know what? I can't nap, I can't do a nap in the day. If I'm napping in the day, mate, don't wake me up. Because I'll just be grouchy. And then I won't be able to sleep at the night time. No, man, I can't do that. It's a couple of things. So, music, going into the forest, quiet, sitting quiet. And I know it sounds so cliche and cringy, and it's kind of meditation, but without the meditation, if you know what I mean. Just the quietness and the nature for me, and just being able to connect and feel happy in here, it's all those things. The quiet, man, like you can't beat it, because sitting in the quiet for me is when I get so much whatever's needed, whether it's just quiet or whether it's guidance or whether it's healing, or it all comes from that same place.
That's beautiful. Yeah. Quiet is, that's partially why I moved into this place, Pamela, because when I used to be like, I need to hear my thoughts, the person that I was living with was either so loud, the TV was on, this was on, I couldn't think, and then it got me so much frustration, because I'm like, everything's always stimulating me and I can't think. So quiet is amazing. I love that. And
I've got goosebumps down my legs.
Yes. And so I also really, really love sitting by the water. The water sounds when I'm sitting by a lake or like an ocean or something.
Yeah. The music of nature. Like,
just that water sound going back and forth, the waves. It's a just different level of peace for me.
Yes.
Okay.
Love it.
So let's wrap this up, as I know we have things to do. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. I love you guys for commenting and sharing your experiences. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for interviewing me and having me. And thank you for all the questions, everybody, and all the love.
Beautiful, talented Pamela over here. Thank you so much for spending time with me for this. I hope to do these more, maybe more topic-based questions, but thank you for spending time. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you later.
You should get John on. You've had Zay. You should get John on.
Yeah, I plan on having a bunch of people on. If John's willing, Zay's willing. Zay, we actually did one with Zay.
Yeah.
So John's willing. There's a few people I have in mind. So I do have.
Exciting. I'll be there.
All right. Thank
thanks
you.
everybody.
Bye.